So, hello guys, welcome to another community interview episode with I'm your host, Lionel, King of YYC, King of the reigning King of the Calgary Stampede. People will know it, and I'm here with the delegate with the anthem, Kelsy Norman. Yay!
Hey, listen, who gave you that title, the King of Calgary? Are you giving yourself that title?
People in the street, man. I
People in
got
the streets. I need names. I need specific names who've called
you.
you the King of Calgary.
They're in hiding.
They're in hiding.
They're in
I think if you
hiding.
make Listen, I just want to say thank you for this opportunity, man. Listen, you and I have known each other for a few years now, over 5 years. I always love
Yeah,
talking to you whenever we see each other out at family functions.
yeah.
When we're out with friends, we always have a really great time, and so I'm glad to sit down and talk with you. I think this is pretty cool what you're doing. I really appreciate this opportunity, Lionel. So thank you for that.
No, thank you. And I know that we were looking to collab with each other and we've been talking about it, but with our schedules and your work and my work, is just been a really busy day, really busy year for all of us. But now with the quarantine, nobody is doing anything.
Yeah, busy doing nothing.
Yeah. So anyways, I wanna ask you, what have you been up to and how are you doing during this quarantine?
Yeah, listen, this is absolutely crazy. I've been thinking a lot about COVID-19 pandemic and looking back in my life, and there's never been really a situation like this before. The only thing I can compare it to is in 2001 with 9/11, where uh, there was that uncertainty of what's going on in the world, and that was only for a short period of time where say like sports was suspended. It was suspended for like a week, and then everything was kind of back to normal, and people started sorting out their lives and figuring out their lives. With COVID-19, it's a completely different thing, and it's just absolutely crazy. But just trying to stay busy, trying to stay sane, watching a lot of movies, reading a lot of books, just trying to um, work on some video stuff as well. And I mean, I love watching films to begin with. So this is a great opportunity to dive into some of those films I haven't had a chance to see. I do want to make some suggestions for the people who are watching this. If they're sitting at home wanting to know, hey, what can I watch? I'm sick of watching the same old stuff that I've been watching. So I'm going to give them a few suggestions, Lionel, if you don't mind. The
Nah,
first film
go.
I'm Yeah, the first film I'm going to suggest people look for. It's a really good film. It's only about an hour and 15, an hour and 20 minutes. It's called Suddenly. It's a black and white film. It stars Frank Sinatra. Don't let that throw you off. If you don't know who Frank Sinatra is, if you're not into black and white films, that's totally okay. It's called Suddenly. In it, Frank Sinatra, who, by the way, Frank Sinatra used to be the absolutely biggest star in Hollywood. And I think I would argue that he's probably the biggest star Hollywood has ever seen since he was the biggest star, and you'll never see a star like him ever again. But he's in a movie called Suddenly. He plays a presidential assassin. It's a really cool film. It's intense. It's fun to watch. So that's an oldie that I would suggest people look out for. And then I think a newer film that people can look out for is called The Farewell. It stars Aquafina. I believe she won a Golden Globe for her
Yeah.
performance in The Farewell. It's about a family in China, or a family who goes to China to bid their grandmother farewell. And when I first heard of this film, I thought, who's going to want to watch this? This seems so sad and depressing. And then I actually took time out to watch it. It's an excellent film. Aquafina is incredible in it. There's humor. There's a little bit of everything in it. So that's a suggestion I would say. And I think that one's on Amazon Prime. If people have Amazon Prime, you can watch that on there. And then there's, I want to make a Canadian suggestion. I think we should support
Yeah.
Canadians. Norman McLaren, now he's dead, so you can't support him.
Yeah, yeah.
But go on the National Film Board website and look up a guy named Norman McLaren. Now, he used to do these animations, these absolutely incredible animations, and I believe he won an Academy Award for one of his animations. And he was making these back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, and they're stop motion animation. Absolutely incredible. No computers used, just cameras and film and that sort of stuff. So Norman McLaren, The Farewell, starring Aquafina, and a film called Suddenly, starring Frank Sinatra as a presidential assassin. So I've just been watching films, I've been reading books, and just trying to keep myself busy hanging out with family, as well as I'm still teaching. I teach online, and I know we will get into the teaching stuff a little bit later on in our conversation.
Yeah, definitely. And Aquafina and the movie Farewell. Excellent movie. I highly recommend that you
Yeah.
because I watched it in theater. It was I I thought at first it was gonna be really slow for me, but it really picked up and it was a really like that thing, really unexpected. So I recommend for people to watch that too. And Kelsey, I'm surprised. Well, not really, but I'm surprised you didn't recommend Tiger King.
Oh, listen, yeah. Here's the thing, okay, and I'm 40 years old. In my 40 years of life, one thing I've learned for certain, absolutely for certain, is that nothing ever lives up to the hype. Think about it. New Year's Eve doesn't live up to the hype. Prom night, listen, prom night didn't live up to the hype, okay?
Yeah.
I do know this. Tiger King lives up to the hype. It's absolutely incredible. I didn't recommend it because I just assumed that everyone has seen Tiger King. You watch the show and you watch the first episode and you go, this is insane. It can't get any crazier. And then you find yourself saying that after the second episode, the third episode. It's absolutely unbelievable. It's an incredible show. I think the filmmakers did an incredible job to sit on that footage. I mean, it took them like 5 or 6 years to make this documentary
Yeah.
series, and to have the patience to sit on that footage and let the story develop, let it unfold, and see where it went. Absolutely incredible. So obviously the Tiger King, but I'm assuming everyone has seen that and now has moved on to the Michael Jordan documentary series.
Oh yeah, and like I got another question. Speaking of
Sure.
Tiger King, like who, who do you think that girl Bat can it guilty?
Well, her name is what? Carol Baskin, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Do I think she's guilty? I think what you're making reference to is the disappearance of her husband.
yeah,
Um, I don't know if she's guilty or not. If you look at the facts, they're kind of stacked up against her. She's an interesting person. Uh, I'm not
yeah,
entirely sure. I think the most popular view on that is yes, that she did it, but at the same time, I think that the documentary left out some important facts uh, as a part of that case that would maybe make her look a little more innocent. I'm not entirely sure, but listen, people have a lot of time on their hands now during this pandemic, and I'm sure a lot of people are researching and Googling and exploring and thinking back. And if she is guilty, uh, and I understand that the authorities in her area are now reopening that case or looking for new leads. So we'll find out if she's guilty or not. Uh, I'm not entirely sure, but I know the popular opinion is that she is guilty of or had something to do with the disappearance of her late husband.
yeah, definitely. And like I agree with you. Like there's so many narrative that Netflix was trying to go with the documentary with leave some parts out because
Yeah.
we cannot they cannot every information, every footage out there because it's gonna be a long, long series with people will be like all bored and people got short attention span. They like the craziness now.
Yeah, they do. And I think, like I said, nothing ever lives up to the hype. This definitely lives up to the hype because it's just insane what happens. At every turn of the show, there's something that is a little more insane than the previous thing that happens.
Definitely. And then I more but I'm gonna get on track with the interview and
Sure.
talk about your videos and your content creation. So you mentioned about making videos and you're doing it during quarantine. So what made you first get into videos and doing content creation like podcasting and graphic design?
Yeah, that's a great question. And for me, this is a story that's going to take a little bit of time to tell, but it's okay. It won't be a boring story. So for me, yes, video and podcasting is what I'm focusing on right now, but it goes back to my childhood. Okay, so if I could show you this is where it all started for me. Okay, this is a book called Where the Wild Things Are. This is written by uh, the late Maurice Sendak. Okay, and so this book was written in 1963, and in 1984, I bought this book for the very first time. It was the very first book that I ever bought with my own money. So I remember I saved up. I bought it for $5 at school. I was in grade 1. It was the Scholastic book sale, and I bought this book. Now, the reason I bought this book is because I just absolutely loved the illustrations, and I loved the designs in it, and it was absolutely incredible. So it captured my attention, and then once I read it, it captured my imagination. All right. And so from here, like I loved everything about this book. It was very bold. And like I said, it was written in 1963. When the book first came out, it was actually banned uh, in a lot of places. I think it just, they thought the powers that be thought it was giving negative thoughts and ideas into people's minds. So that book really sparked my imagination. I'm still a fan. Here we go. Here's one of the characters
I love it.
from yeah, that's fantastic. Here's Max as well. He's a little guy right here. There's Max. All right. So Max and his friends and Marie Sendak had a huge impact on my life at a really young age. Got me interested in illustration, in design, and that sort of thing. And so when I was a kid, I would draw quite a bit. I'd spend a lot of time drawing. I wasn't really a big comic book person, but I did gravitate towards kind of like the Spider-Man comic books. I really liked Spider-Man. And then as I got a little bit older, I got really into these guys right here. So this is Hanna-Barbera.
Oh
All right.
yeah,
You know them from,
yeah,
the Jetsons and the Flintstones. And my absolute favorite was Scooby-Doo. So when I was about
yeah.
6 years old, 7 years old, I absolutely loved Scooby-Doo. And I loved the illustrations and I loved the cartoons of Hanna-Barbera. And that really had an impact on me because, just these like really bright colors, these great illustrations. And from there, my love for art and design and illustration grew even further. And as I went through childhood and became a teenager, I got a lot more into, you know, figuring out who I was as a person and what I liked. And I got into, really got into skateboarding and street culture and that sort of stuff. And then I got into a lot of artists who can be found in this book right here. So this book is called Beautiful Losers. All right. And in this book, it covers a lot of artists. Street artist named Espo is in this book. Cause, everyone knows who Cause is nowadays, but Cause is in this book as well. Basquiat's in this book, Herring, and people like Eric Hayes. If you don't know who that is, you want to look up Eric Hayes. So these street artists who would create art in the street, art that was just incredibly bold and daring, that didn't belong in an art gallery. These are the types of artists that I kind of gravitated towards when I was a teenager, when I was into skateboarding, when I was really starting to take a liking to the designs that I would see on skateboards and t-shirts and clothing. And now, so this is the mid 90s. So there's no internet or anything like that. And if there was internet, it was not everyone had access to it. They didn't have it on their phones. So, you know, we'd look at books and magazines, Juxtapose magazine, Thrasher Skateboard magazine, Trans World Skateboard magazine. And we would see all this incredible artwork, and that really inspired me. So from there, I said, you know what, this is something I'd like to do. I'd like to design apparel. I'd like to design skateboards and that type of stuff. So that really captured my my love for graphic design. Here's a picture. I don't know if you can see that. It's a drawing that Mark Gonzalez drew for me in 1998.
Wow.
Those who know who Mark
Okay,
Gonzalez
cool.
is, that's a pretty cool little. He's also in this beautiful Losers book as well. So these are the types of things and the types of people that really inspired me at a younger age during my formative years to get into graphic design, to get into illustration. And I gravitated towards that, you know, that street art, that street style, that street culture because of skateboarding and just constantly being out and around and skateboarding in downtowns of cities, growing up on the East Coast. And I went to art college. I graduated from art college, and then I came out to Calgary, and I started working at a graphic design firm, which I did for, for a good chunk of time, almost 10 years, working for a firm. So that's the graphic design stuff. After that, I became a little more interested in storytelling, different avenues of storytelling, different mediums of storytelling. And so I became interested in podcasting. My influence for podcasting came from This American Life podcast, which is a super popular podcast, probably like the greatest podcast of all time. It's been running for a really, really long time. So This American Life, who would capture all these different types of stories and interviews and conversations with people. And I also really loved sports radio, specifically Jim Rome. If you know who Jim Rome is, he's an excellent interviewer. I just really enjoyed his style. He was very professional. He just had a really great following as well. And so I really appreciated Jim Rome. And so from there, I just was like, well, you know, I'd like to do some podcasting myself, and I'd like to have conversations with people. And sorry, my monitor shut off, so I was typing in my password. And so, you know, podcasting was something that I experimented with when I went to the University of Calgary, and then I was eventually hired by the University of Calgary to host a podcast for the University of Calgary, where I interviewed prominent alumni from the university. I did that for like 2 years. Interviewed over 100 people, and that was really cool. I'll get into the video stuff in a second, Lionel, but I think the microphone is picking up someone who's talking in your room.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I might just mute my mic then.
Yeah, if you want to mute your mic, go ahead.
Yeah.
And then after podcasting, I took an interest in video. So I do have a formal education in graphic design, but I taught myself about podcasting, recording podcasting, doing production through Audacity or through GarageBand. And then I was like, well, I'd like to learn how to make videos. And so I started to teach myself how to make videos and use those skills I learned from graphic design, use those skills from podcasting and put them all together with a visual component. So taught myself how to make videos, and I'm still learning as well. But my big influences for making videos is Spike Jonze, who's an incredible director. I also really love Alfred Hitchcock, who I think makes incredible movies. When you see an Alfred Hitchcock movie, you know it's an Alfred Hitchcock movie. So he's got that kind of auteur you can apply that auteur theory to Alfred Hitchcock. And I think the person that really got me interested in making these videos and putting them on the internet is Kelsy Youtube, who I think's had an impact on a lot of people's lives, a lot of filmmakers of a certain generation. So
Yeah.
I know that's a lot of talking, Lionel.
No, I
That's only
love
like
it. I love it. Listen, I know this. I know what Kelsy say. I knew him for a while, and I love having conversations with him because he always have a story to tell, and the stories are always entertaining and informative in in the same time, and I freaking learned so much from your story.
yeah, sometimes those stories are even true. So there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you talk about you talk about teaching not what, and I see in your YouTube videos you did some vlogging, eh?
Yeah, kind of, sort of. I'm not a big fan of vlogging. I just I don't want to offend anybody, Lionel, that you're friends with or people who visit your channel or anything like that. But I'm not a big fan of vlogging. I, I just, but I think just kind of the way Kelsy Youtube's approach to filmmaking. And I think that's another thing too. If I look at the people who've inspired me, and I'll get into more inspiration stuff when we talk about the design process and that sort of thing. But I like people who just do it themselves, and so Kelsy Youtube really embodies that for me. Someone who takes that DIY attitude and has applied it to his life and has reaped the benefits of that. And I don't really watch his stuff. Once he started vlogging, I didn't really watch his stuff all that much. I think he's an incredible storyteller. I think he's done a great job, and I think he deserves all the success that he is experiencing.
Yeah, I totally agree that gazing at what is like the first one that did it all. It's the pioneer of like what modern YouTube is today, right?
Yeah.
And then
Yes.
like and then like with the whole vlogging thing, I totally agree with you. I tried like people tried vlogging. It does take a lot of work, and it seems like you're not in the moment when you're vlogging, right?
Yeah, I think so. If you're the person that's making vlogs, are you actually being in the moment? Are you actually experiencing things, enjoying things? Or are you just worried about getting that right shot? Are you getting that right angle, making sure everything's right on the camera? My whole problem with vlogging is 99% of people's vlogs are just absolutely boring. They don't live exciting lives, right?
Yeah,
And a
yeah,
lot of the times it's them sitting. This is why I got a lot of props here, man. I got a lot of stuff to bring out, show and tell, because when people sit here and just talking to the camera, it's absolutely boring. I don't care
yeah,
how good looking someone is, how attractive they are, you're going to get sick of looking at them after a while. All right, so a lot of the vlog stuff, unless you're doing something extremely interesting every single day, I'm going to lose interest pretty quick, and most people will. All right, so if you
yeah,
look at the most successful vloggers, they're doing something interesting. Their lives are a little more interesting than ours, interesting enough that we want to tune in and check them out. And so I just, like I said, 99% of vlogs are just so boring, and I guess they're kind of narcissistic. It's like a 10-minute long selfie. I really don't want to see that.
yeah, definitely. And like, it's not like it's not like being for it kind of like so obvious a bit because people are like, look at me and look at how my life is better than yours and all that shit. I'm like, come on, your freaking parents probably pay for your fancy card and all that shit.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just not. It's just not for me. But I mean, I have a hard time with a lot of this stuff, man. I just don't see the creativity in it. I just think people throw around that word too easily nowadays. They're quick to label themselves as creative people. Wow, I took a picture and put a filter on, and I'm creative. It's like, no, I don't think so. I don't think that's what creativity is. Creativity is creating something new that has value. And a lot of people, and again, I don't want to offend anyone, Lionel, but a lot of people on Instagram and the photographers and content creators, no, your camera's on automatic. You're filming this stuff, and then you're throwing it in. There's no creativity there. What's creative about that? What is
Yeah,
new and valuable about what you're doing? And I'm not saying like I'm the most creative person on the planet, but I'd like to think that I have put out some content that, and the majority of my content is is new. So it's tackling something new, and there's some value there, and I just don't see that with the majority of content creators out there. It's and
yeah,
a lot of these people start YouTube channels, and I know we're going off on a tangent here, and we'll bring it back to the conversation. But a lot of these people, they'll start YouTube channels and say, "I'm going to start vlogging," and they'll start creating these vlogs, and they make like 5 of them, and then they quit because they're not getting thousands of views, right away. It's like no one's ever heard of you, no one knows who you are, what you're doing is boring. So what did you think was going to happen? And the same with like podcasts. Well, I'm interviewing these people. Well, no one knows who you are. No one knows who the people you are interviewing. Why would they tune in? It takes time to build. It takes time to build an audience. And I'm not saying like if you're interviewing people and no one knows who they are, that you'll never interview people that people know. Eventually, that might happen for you, but it takes time. It takes time, and you touched on it earlier. People, when you're talking about Tiger King, people have short attention spans. People want things right now, and I think that's the problem with some people making content and telling stories online. Is just that they have no patience and they don't want to spend the time, or they don't want to take the time to develop these skills and develop and build up an audience and get better, and suffer 2 or 3 or 4, 2, 3, 4, 5 years of no one watching your stuff to build up that audience, to build up your skill. I mean, this, enough people, Lionel, who are in business, young business graduates who graduate business school, and then they're like, well, I'm an entrepreneur. It's like, no, you're not. Like, you can't some people are, and some people get extremely lucky, but it takes time to build up a
yeah,
business, and it takes up time to build up a business that's going to last a long time and have longevity and be valuable to people. And I just think it's just something that people struggle with, being patient and realizing that things are going to suck for a while before they get better.
yeah, and I totally agree with you because I heard like some some really good business advice to like start up my photography business, and some really really terrible advice. And I feel like what you say, I feel like some people that feel entitled, like
Yeah,
to
entitled.
to like to like, oh, I'm talented, I'm offering his services. I feel like I'm the only one that can do the best, that can deliver the best finished good to you. So I hear me, I'm like, come on, guys. He's like, yeah, people need to, what you said, people need to come down, relax, take time. It takes time. It like Rome is not built in a day.
Well, that's exactly it, and I think you've got a lot. But I think what they teach in schools as well, in business school, is they really push this entrepreneurship thing. Like, you could be your own boss, you can start your own company. Well, you need that guidance, you need that mentorship. You should work under someone. And when I look at people in creative jobs, now I worked in a design firm. The longest time I worked in a design firm, at one design firm, was 7 years, and I'm so fortunate to have worked with some incredible people, an incredible art director who really taught me so much about design, about aesthetics, about creativity, typography, layout, everything, man. And I needed that. There was no way I was going to learn all that stuff on my own. And I've worked on hundreds, if not thousands, of design projects through the design firm. And it's like lifting weights, man.
Yeah.
You have to build up those reps, right? You can't just bench, 400 pounds or 350 pounds. Eventually you might be able to get there. That's a lot of weight, but you gotta bench that 150, that 100 first, right? And
Yeah.
build up and build up. And it's just like any of this creative stuff. It's just creative muscle, and you have to work up to that, man. And it's just I don't know. I don't think the schools do people any favors. And I don't think there's anything wrong with working under somebody and working for somebody and learning. And you look at someone like Casey Neistat. We just talked about him. Well, he worked for Tom Sachs for a long time,
Yeah.
and right, and so did his brother, and developed like some incredible skills and incredible creative skills. And look at him now. So I think the next thing you want to talk about is design process.
Yeah, like, so what is your creative process in tackling a art project?
I think it depends, Lionel, on exactly what the project is. So, like I said, and I'm going to get into a little bit of more inspiration here. So, for me, if somebody said, "What's your inspiration? What's your main source of inspiration for everything you do?" And I touched on it earlier. It's that do-it-yourself attitude, that do-it-yourself vibe. And so, I'm going to share some examples. My best friend, his name is Jeff Thorburn. He's an incredible photographer. He's worked
Oh
for every
yeah.
major skateboard. He's worked for every major skateboard magazine in Canada, as an editor. He's at King Magazine right now. But I think of Jeff, and before he became an editor at SBC or King Magazine or whatever, he would make his own magazines. So he'd make these little magazines, these little zines right here, okay? And he would put them out himself. All right. And so someone like Jeff, who I absolutely love, he's my best friend, an incredible person. He would take these photos and he would make his own magazine, and he put them in, in skateboard shops like The Source. I think The Source sponsored this one. And I
Oh
just want to
yeah.
say shout out. I want to say shout out to The Source, because I think two guys that don't get talked about enough in Calgary as business leaders and people who've contributed to Calgary are Mark Weeks and Dave Bedome, who just have been incredible advocates for snowboarding and for skateboarding in Calgary and in this area, and always willing to push the culture and support the culture. And those are the two gentlemen who own The Source, Dave Bedone and Mark Weeks. And just awesome guys, and I think they deserve a lot more credit than they get. And then here's another, and so I
Yeah.
have some of his older magazines as well. Just really cool. So people like Jeff, people who do it yourself attitude, and another big influence for me, it starts in the streets for me. Like I said, I grew up skateboarding, man. So I'm all about street culture, streetwear, skateboarding, street art, that sort of stuff. This video right here, if you can see that, this is a VHS tape, by the way.
Wow. What are
VHS tape.
those?
So this is Zoo York mixtape. Zoo York's a brand you can buy in Army Navy nowadays.
Oh
But
yeah.
before it used to be like a really legit sick company, okay? And look at that boombox on the front of that. That thing's incredible, man. And this video was just raw street for me. This was like raw New York street skateboarding. The soundtrack was incredible. It was Stretch Armstrong and Bobbito freestyles from their radio show, Method Man and Busta Rhymes, all sorts of incredible rappers on the soundtrack. But the whole like street culture, everything starts for me, kind of coming from that type of mentality. And so the process can be something, an idea, something I see. I'll go for a walk, or I'll be out doing something. And from my history videos, Lionel, especially the Last Houses of Downtown Calgary video, I mean, that came from me just like riding a bicycle, walking down the street, just being nosy, looking around, checking things out, just being curious, right? And I spent so much time growing up, riding bicycles, skateboarding, just being downtown, talking to weirdos. And so you just pick up on things and you start seeing things, and it's almost like a form of literacy. You learn how to read the streets, you learn how to kind of read your environments, and you start seeing things. And then so for me, it usually starts with an idea, for videos, from there. And same with graphic design. It depends on the project. Like I said, I've done a lot of work. I got to grab something here. So I've done a lot of work in kind of the Canadian skateboard community. I used to be the creative director for a chain of skateboard shops on the East Coast called Eastside Board Supply. And I think it was like for 10 years, I would design all their clothing, all their boards, and that sort of stuff. I didn't keep any of it. I wish I would have, but that stuff takes up a lot of space. When you're designing, 10 decks a year and 10 different t-shirts a year, that stuff all adds up. I did keep some of this. I did some design work for The Source. There's a hat that I designed for The Source and
Wow.
DC Sneakers. I kept that one. I like working on skateboard stuff. Here's a skateboard I designed for The Source. Mills Beach.
Damn.
Used to be a nickname for Mills, for Millennium Skate Park. Classic Calgary skateboard right here.
I like the details.
Yeah, all sorts of stuff.
Letter. Yeah.
So, so it depends on the project. So if it's a design project, I love designing apparel. I love designing shirts. I like simple one color designs. If you can master that, playing with line widths and contrast and that sort of stuff. I really love doing that. I got a lot of stuff over here. I just knocked a bunch of it down. And another thing too about me, I mentioned it earlier, is I mentioned the work of Spike Jonze. I absolutely love him as a director. Spike Jonze worked with my absolute favorite music group of all time, the Beastie Boys.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, here you go, Ill Communication LP. This is my absolute favorite Beastie Boys album. But here's the thing about the Beastie Boys that a lot of people, your average fan, or not even average fan, but your average person, when they think of the Beastie Boys, they don't really know a lot about them. But I mean, these were people, or three guys who really had that do it yourself type of attitude and created the music that they wanted to make. Starting off making this just this obnoxious frat boy party type rap, and then really discovering who they are and who they were, making awesome music that really inspired me. Here's the same album on cassette. Cassette tape. I'm old school, man.
Yo, I never. This is the first time I see a cassette tape in 15 years.
There's another one. Special thanks, Rob Quitson, for getting this for me. Appreciate it. Here's another. This one. This one's not even open. So Beastie Boys starting their own label, Grand Royal Records. This is a little sampler cassette. And so this is just like stuff here's a poster from 2004, Beastie Boys to the Five Boroughs poster. But, so like I said, my starting point is I love taking on new challenges, new projects, but I'm all about okay, how do I approach this? What can I do to make it interesting? Exploring different techniques, different areas of interest, just different ways to tell an interesting story, man. I think that's really what it's all about. And I don't really like doing work for clients anymore. That's annoying to me. I used to do a lot of freelance work, but I absolutely can't stand it because a lot of people, I'm of the mind that if you hire someone to do a creative job for you, to work on a creative project for you, let them do it. just let them do the damn thing, right? You hired them. They're the creative person. Trust in them. You've seen their work. You like
Yeah.
their work. And you know, the more I've had a chance to work on projects that at first you're like, oh, this is going to be awesome. It's going to be an incredible opportunity. And the more and more the client wants to interject and have their say, oh, try this, do this. No, I'm not going to try this, or I'm not going
Yeah.
to do that. It makes me
Yeah.
less likely to want to do the project. And I don't know. I think that's why I quit doing a lot of freelance work, a lot of freelance design work. And I'm not saying like everything I design is awesome, but I've been doing it long enough. I've been doing it for over 20 years to know, you know, I have a sense of what looks good, right?
Yeah.
I've built up a good reputation. I've built up a nice portfolio, and I've been paid well to do this work. So none of that lies.
Yeah,
I know what I'm
no,
doing.
I totally agree. And eventually, like, in my experience and with other people working with big companies, like big corporations, there's a
Yeah,
lot of, when they hire you, they're like, oh, we like your creativity, we like your sense of, like, your sense of art, your eye, but when you're working for them, there's a lot of limitations in the contract.
yeah.
You're like, what the hell?
And the more feedback they have, the less likely I'm going to want to do it. So yeah, that, I mean that's the creative process for me. I know that's a little bit scattered, but like I said, I'm inspired by a lot of stuff. Like I'm inspired by a lot of stuff throughout my life. So it's not like, yes, inspiration can happen in the moment, but what has shaped me and what has shaped my design style, my art style, and even my conversation style, my video style has been everything over the last, you know, 40 years of my life since I was a young person. And like I said, that one thing that's constant is the do-it-yourself attitude, and also just inspiration from street culture. That's it. I mean, that's who I am.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
definitely.
I do want to say also, um, I just collect a lot of things. Okay, so it's not like a lot of the stuff I've gotten for free, or you know, I've accumulated. I also really love typography, like really good, clean typography. But I only like, you know, 5, 6, 7 different typefaces. But this is a company right here. They're called House,
Whoa.
and they make incredible. They make some incredible typefaces. Like they make some incredible typefaces. It's nice, clean.
That is so clean, so great.
Yeah, a lot of clean stuff. Um, I mean, Neutro was a famous font that was popping off maybe like 10 years ago. It was super, you still see it quite a bit. Anyway, I really like clean typography. I really like kind of vintage and retro style design. I like stuff from the 50s and 60s and the 70s. I really like, this is an excellent book right here. It's called Penguin by Design. And what it does is it looks at all the old Penguin books. Like Penguin has an incredible catalog of just awesome book design, man. Just like awesome retro, really cool designs. This book, if you can buy this book used on Amazon. Um, I came prepared, Lionel. I got a lot of stuff
I know, I freaking knew it. You were like, yo, Kelsy, this is gonna be an interesting interview.
Yeah, yeah. Look, I mean, you maybe owning books is kind of old school. So maybe some of your viewers and your listeners would rather look up these online. Penguin designs, just really cool stuff. Really, really bold stuff. And then lastly, one thing I'm going to say here about inspiration and the design process. I'm really inspired by Blue Note Jazz Records.
Oh,
All
yeah?
right. So yeah, Blue Note is an incredible jazz label. They still put out music on their label, but their album designs were and still are really impressive. I mean, just like really cool, simple stuff,
Nice.
really clean, bold stuff. So Google or do a web search of of Blue Note Records, and you'll see some incredible album covers from the 50s and the 60s. Really great artists too. All the titans, all the heavy hitters, all the big players in jazz music would have something on Blue Note Records. And
Definitely.
so I'm inspired by that. I really like that retro vintage looking design, the elements and the typography.
Definitely. And man, it seems like you're inspired by a lot of things, eh?
Yeah, I mean, I know what I like, and I like what I like. I just think I I'm at a place now where I do see new inspirations, and I do see new things that come into my life that I take inspiration from. But I'm not the kind of person who switches up their style and jumps from the
Hmm.
next thing to the next thing to the next thing. That's just not me.
Yeah.
I just that's not who I am. And like I said, my inspirations I've gathered throughout my life. And another huge inspiration for me, you know, like I said, I like to collect a lot of things, man. I got a lot of stuff. And so another these guys right here. You know, Pharrell Williams, the
Yeah.
Neptunes. I absolutely love
Well,
Pharrell Williams.
yeah.
This is a sticker I've had for like 15 years. So absolutely love Pharrell Williams.
Yeah, I like his
Incredible.
clothing brand too.
Yeah, he does cool stuff. Here's his book, Places and Spaces.
Oh yeah.
This is an awesome book if you can get
Dang.
your hands on this. A really good retrospective of his career up until a couple years ago. So a lot of really great stuff. And I just love him, man. He's the first NERD album. Probably one of my favorite records of all time.
Oh
Absolutely
yeah.
fascinating. Yeah, I just love it, man. There's so many interesting things on this album, and especially when it came out. But he's an innovative person, and so when we talk about the design process, I just look at these people, these things that inspire me. Some of the people I know, some people I'll never meet. And that's where the process starts. And I know that's a lot.
Yeah. No, definitely. 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 And and you mentioned that you like love walking around and being
Yeah.
nosy on everything. And I wanna talk more about like your recent video that you talked about earlier about the historical landmark, especially in Calgary. You like walked around and started documenting them. So, what got you interested about documenting history landmarks and making those videos?
Yeah, so the reason why I became interested in documenting Calgary landmarks and houses and buildings was because there's a couple of reasons. One of them is that I really got sick of people saying Calgary's a new city. It doesn't have a lot of history. Well, it does have a lot of history. It's new compared to cities in Ontario and Quebec and Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, sure, but we have some history here. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to take that history and I wanted to deliver it to a new audience through video. All right, so taking from my graphic design background, my podcasting background, as well as learning how to make videos. And so back when I was at the University of Calgary, I had a chance to interview two people that had an impact on me. One of them was a history professor named Maxwell Foran, who taught about the history of Alberta. He actually did a class, the history of the Calgary Stampede, and I think he would take students to the Calgary Stampede for a week, and you'd be on the grounds, on the
Oh yeah.
Stampede grounds for a week, and you'd learn about the history of the Calgary Stampede. And so he really got me excited about Alberta history. And then I interviewed this gentleman right here, Harry Sanders. He wrote this excellent book, Historical Walks, is called Historical Walks of Calgary. And this is an excellent book. If you can pick this up, you can pick this up at a used bookstore in Calgary. It's probably going to cost you about $20. But I had a chance to interview him, and his passion for Calgary's history was awesome. He told me about a place called Lindsay's Castle or Lindsay's Folly, which I made a video about, but it just got me really interested in Calgary history. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to take these stories that I heard or that I read about and introduce them to a new audience, an audience that would much rather watch a video than, say, read a blog post or just look at
Yeah.
pictures, right? So that's
Yeah.
basically what I was trying to do. And you can find out some really interesting things about Calgary through research. The Calgary Central Library has an incredible local history area where you can go back into the 1800s and look up stories and information about the city.
Yeah, and like for me as a audience member, like I really appreciate your content and how engaging you made history, the history of the landmark, and how interactive you made it for the
Yeah.
audience, because you get like really attached and really attracted to find out more about the information, and I really
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Here's the thing too, is that I'm really nosy. Okay, I'm really nosy, and I like knowing stuff. So I like researching and diving deep into things, and so that this allows me to do that, to go into the local history area of the Central Library downtown Calgary and dig through the books, dig through the records, look at old maps. A lot of that stuff's not online, so you have to go there and you really need to touch it up and feel around and dig through the PAM files and that sort of thing. Also, another thing when I make these videos is that, yeah, I'll give you some historical information. I'll give you some of the background, but I do leave a little bit out because I want I want viewers to spark a little bit of interest in them and go, I want to find out more about that. So they're going to go and research, and they're going to discover interesting stories about Calgary and about other places in Alberta.
Yeah, and I totally get that. Like, if like people like even me like that out in that out near the stampede.
Yeah.
After the video you made, I did some research about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really sad about what happened to it. And
Yeah,
all.
when Cowboys burnt it down. I mean, when it. Yeah, who knows what happened? So you're talking
and,
about the Enoch Sales house. Enoch Sales was a gentleman who lived there. I think he was the second person to live in the house. He moved in after, I think it was a year after the house was built. I think that was the story, if my memory serves me correctly. But yeah, eventually that house became like a boarding house with all different rooms, and you could rent a room in there. And then it burnt down last year,
yeah,
mysteriously.
and that. Yeah, me, me. I don't work in that area anymore. So,
That's
we're
right.
all,
You used to work. You used to work for
yeah.
them. Did you start the fire?
Funny that you say that. Everyone at work would blaming me. I'm like, no, I didn't. I love that
Yeah.
app, and that I heard that this app was gonna be preserved in Calgary Heritage Park too.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure. Listen, if CMLC cared about it that much, they would have put a fence around it. So they're
yeah,
partially to blame for it.
yeah, because not saying that I burned it, but anyone could honestly go into the door. There wasn't any fences or barriers out there.
Yeah.
And speaking of local, how important is it to support local artists, even in the midst of this pandemic?
Yeah, listen, I think you can just remove, that part of the sentence, right? In this
Yeah,
pandemic. I think it's always important to support local, and to support local artists and to support local businesses, small businesses. But listen, don't support local. Yeah, there you go. Don't support local artists that you don't like. If you think their work sucks, don't support it, right? Don't support it just because it's local, right? Support what you like. But if you can support something local that you like, do that before you support maybe something that's not local that you like.
yeah,
You don't
like
have to support it just because it's local. If you don't like it, if you think it sucks, don't support it,
yeah,
right? But if you like it, try to support it.
yeah. It's like the soda collectibles. I don't like their logo, but I don't like their stuff, and they're a little bit racist too.
Who's this?
Hey, the collectible, the collectible, like old antique shop in Inglewood.
Oh, that racist guy?
Yeah,
That guy
yeah,
sucks.
yeah, like,
Don't support that guy. That guy's racist.
exactly like it's local, but it doesn't mean you need to support that guy.
No, listen, absolutely not. And so what I did is I put together three artists that I enjoy, that I think, that I have no problem supporting for local artists. So the first local artist is a guy named Kyle Metcalf, who's one of my absolutely favorite artists and favorite illustrators. And he has a thing called Good Boy Studios, or Good Boy Studio, and they make clothing. You've probably seen his artwork around town.
Yep.
It's a dog with a hat, and it says "Good Boy." So I would say Kyle Metcalf. He has I just love his illustrations. Good Boy Studio. He's fantastic. Brenda at Better Off Studio. She does ceramic goods. She makes really cool stuff. So Better Off Studio. She's a local artist who's making cool stuff. Really good person. Check her out on Instagram, Better Off Studio. And there's also a record label called Inner Ocean Records, who make like lo-fi, hip hop beats. They make jazz music, like kind of like jazzy type of beats. So that's a local Calgary record label, Inner Ocean Records. I really like some of the music they're putting out. So Kyle Metcalf, Brenda at Better Off Studios, and Inner Ocean Records. I think those three are people I would happily support. I think they do great work. And also, like local businesses, they need your help. They need your money.
Yeah,
They need their business and support. And like, let's support our friends. Let's support people in our community that we care about, right? I
yeah,
mean, if you like what they're doing, if you care about what they're doing, if it's a restaurant you don't like to eat at, don't eat at it because it's local. Go eat
yeah,
at what you like. But this
yeah,
shouldn't apply
definitely.
to. We should be doing just in a pandemic. We should be doing this all the time. We should have sense in our. We should have pride in our community. We should be proud of where we live. And I know where I live, there's awesome people who own awesome businesses. There's markets. There's stores. There's coffee shops. There's restaurants. There's bicycle shops. You shop local, support local if you can, if you like what they're doing, and if you can afford to do it.
Yeah,
You're
definitely.
supporting people that you see. You're supporting people who live in your neighborhood.
Yeah, definitely. And then also, also, uh, the, before getting into the next question because you're an interesting guy,
Yeah.
Kelsey. So I wanna make two parts in your interview.
Why not just run it? Just run the whole thing.
One the whole thing. Okay,
Yeah, just run it, man. Just run it.
okay, Kelsey. Yeah, we're gonna.
Listen, hey, listen. No one's going to tune in to hear me twice. No one's
Yeah.
even, you know what? No one's going to tune in to hear me twice. You like me. Some people like me. I'm not for everybody, okay? I might have hurt some people's feelings when I said, you know, if you just take a picture and put a filter on it, you're not creative. That people turned it off right there. That hurt some feelings, man. So don't run this in two parts. Just run it in one part. Leave everything in, and let's jump into the next thing, man. Let's jump into the next thing.
This guy, yeah, this is why me and you get along so well. You say it what it is, I say it what it is. Like, we
Yep.
don't bullshit, we're genuine, but we're not gonna be fake. We're not gonna say, like, if you suck, then you properly you suck.
Oh, listen, here's an art print I have of Kyle Metcalf. If anyone's looking to see what his really nice, clean illustration, something you'd see in the New Yorker. His work has been in Monocle magazine. It's been in Reader's Digest. He does really nice, clean stuff. So this is Kyle Metcalf, Good Boy Studio, one of my favorite illustrators. Just awesome dude. Check him out for sure, Kyle Metcalf.
And we I'm like to off topic, but do you get sick and tired of other people saying that we don't have any creative people in Calgary, or Calgary doesn't have an art culture?
Well, listen, I don't think that's true. I think we have a pretty cool city here, man, and I think it's changed quite a bit. I moved here in 2001. It was a completely different city. We've got so many young, intelligent, creative people that have moved here from other parts of the country. Think about what it takes to be a person living in a small town on the other part of this country. You have to be confident. You have to be willing to take chances, willing to take risks. And so you pack up and you come here. And then listen, Calgary's an amazing city that if whatever you want to do, you can make it happen in Calgary. I've had an incredible life. I've had incredible careers, working in graphic design, working in post-secondary education, and now working as a teacher. Anything I've wanted to do, I've been able to achieve. Now I get it. I'm a middle-class white male, and I understand the privilege that's attached to it. And I'm by no means making fun of it. It's a real thing, and I totally believe that I've been graced with some great fortune, and I understand that. I appreciate that, and I acknowledge it. But I've also worked really hard to get to where I'm at. I've made some missteps in my life and my career, but Calgary's an incredible city, and we do attract awesome. Like, look at, I mean, we've had some great musicians come out of here. We've had some. We have films that are made here. We have TV shows that are made here.
Yeah.
We have artists. We have athletes. Sure, we're 1.3 million people. We're not Los Angeles. We're not we're not 30 million people here.
Yeah.
And I think we've done quite well for ourselves. And I think Calgary still has that small town feel for a big city. And I think we're doing pretty good for ourselves. I'm proud to be living here for the last 19 years. I don't know. When people say that sort of thing, I think they don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, and I totally agree. Even like my sister, she go to Vancouver for go, but she told me that Calgary will always be home for her because it's like familiarity besides the fact her family is all here, but it's like familiar. The city is not too big that it's not busy all the time, but it's busy enough to do
Yeah.
something and to go out and to explore and try new things.
This is the best place to live, man. I'm a greasy maritimer from the East Coast, grew up in Fredericton, New Brunswick. I'm never moving back there. It's a great place to visit. I don't want to live there. I want to live here. This place is awesome. It has everything you want to do. And if you don't like it, you can hop on a plane. You can fly to Seattle. You can fly to Los Angeles. You can fly to New York. Everything's close, man. And but guess what? When you're on those trips, the moment you head back home and the moment you touch down in Calgary, you say to yourself, damn, it feels good to be home, because Calgary's beautiful. Alberta's beautiful. Sure, we have people with opposing political views and that sort of thing, but no place is perfect, and no one's going to always agree on everything. But one thing I think we can agree on is that we live in an awesome city that gets better and better every single day. Sure,
Yeah,
right now things kind of suck. COVID sucks. The economy kind of sucks. People might disagree with the provincial government, think they kind of suck. But at the end of the day, we live in an awesome province with
yeah,
smart people, young, intelligent people, innovative people, and we're going to get through this, man. And I love living here. I don't want to live anywhere else. This place is awesome.
yeah. And honestly, am I where I used to work, like the Calgary is like for I talked to some clients overseas, and they were telling me that Calgary is really like strong, like really strong community wise, because even though we have as as opposing political views and opposing differences, we always find a way to come together for a common
Yeah,
goal with
yeah,
our love.
yeah. And that common goal is hating on Edmonton. So that's what brings us together.
Yeah, true aching on Edmonton, and I think like with like watching with like the 2013 flood, and like
Yeah,
even like seeing that the Toronto Raptors taking it all, and seeing all those different kind of people coming together, doesn't matter
yeah,
doesn't matter the economic collapse or the waves, they all come together, and they were like hugging. Everyone was hugging one another. We cannot do that anymore, but before, like, everyone was hugging, caring together, and it was just magical to watch. Hearing Calgary and seeing people like embracing one another.
yeah.
Yeah. And then speaking, moving on, speaking about your other passions, you mentioned that you're a teacher. So
Yeah.
uh, why did you and why and how when and how did you know you wanted to become a teacher?
Yeah, I think that's like a really popular question, or that's quite a common question when you talk to someone and you find out that they're a teacher. And that's a question they ask you when you go into the education program: is why did you want to become a teacher? I'll tell you right now, straight off the top, teaching is the best job in the world. I have the absolute best job in the world. I wouldn't trade it in for anything else. And I've had some awesome, cool, interesting jobs. This one is by far the best job I've ever had. And I truly believe it's what I'm meant to do in life. So the reason why I wanted to become a teacher is I just wanted to be a positive influence on young people. And I think that, when I was young, I didn't have the best situation in life. I grew up in a trailer park. I had an abusive stepfather. I felt, I wasn't a good looking kid. I was skinny, lots of acne. I didn't have a lot going on for myself. I didn't have a lot of self confidence, and I just didn't have much going on for myself. It had a big impact on my life as a youth, man. My youth wasn't fun. Uh, it wasn't a good time. And, I always wish at school that I would have met that teacher, that movie teacher, the teacher you see on a TV show that embraces you and I believe in you and you're going
Oh,
to change the world. That never happened for me. I never met that teacher at a time, and I'm the kind of kid that would have really benefited from that because I hated being at home because, like I said,
yeah.
I had a terrible stepfather, which made being at home terrible and unenjoyable and uncomfortable. And when you grow up in a trailer park, everyone's broke. Life isn't good.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking. I'm not talking like I lived in a trailer park for like a year. No, I lived in a trailer park for 12 years. Like I'm legit like that. And when I say like, I'm a greasy maritimer. That's it. That's what it is. You know, that's who I am. That's what I came from. From 5 years old to 17 years old, growing up in a trailer park. And so I always wanted to meet that person. I always wanted to meet that adult, that teacher who, the Robin Williams type of character from Dead Poets Society or something like that, right? And I never met that person. And but one person I did have in my life was an uncle, and I had this incredible uncle. His name was Blaine, and he's passed away now, but he was awesome. He just loved teenagers. He loved young people. He used to run a youth center in New Brunswick where he lived. He was a military guy. They lived on a base in Chatham, uh, Chatham, New Brunswick, and there he ran a youth center. And anytime we'd go up and visit him, we'd spend so much time at this youth center, and I'd watch the way he'd interact with these young people, and I was like, yo, that's what I want to do. But I knew that you can't just run a youth center for a living. And I had a couple teachers growing up that I really appreciated, that I really enjoyed. And there's only two things I've ever wanted to do with my life. I wanted to be a graphic designer. I wanted to be an artist. And after that, I wanted to be a teacher. So when I had success and I felt like I did what I could working at a design firm, I said, okay, time to move on to teaching. And I, you know, my goal in teaching is to make that connection with young people, make that connection with students. And ultimately, what my goal is to become that person I wish I could have met when I was 12, 13, 14 years old. I want to be that person. And if you talk to my students, I'm always like, yo, what's up? How was your weekend? What's going on? And I always reach out to them like, is everything okay? Is there anything you want to talk about? Like, I make sure, and then I also rip them too, right? I also talk so much smack to them because that's who I am. And that's how I show, affection and that I care about them. But that's what made me want to be a teacher. I didn't have that person, and I wanted to be that person because, I don't know if I would have ever done something that. Hold on a second here. My phone's ringing. Could you hear that? Did that come through?
No, it's all good. It's all
Okay.
good.
Yeah, I think I just wanted to be that person that um, that that I wish I could have met when I was 12, 13, 14 years old. That person that could show young people that, hey, adults care and your life might suck, but let's see if I can try to make it better. And with teaching's all about relationships. Being a good teacher is all about relationships, connecting with young people and working with them. This whole, teacher who sits in front of the classroom and says, you get your books out now and you do your work, that doesn't work. People don't respond well to that. Like, do you respond well when someone's bossing you around? No. So why would a young person respond well to that? And especially where I teach, man. Like, I'm not teaching in the Northwest. I'm not teaching in the Southwest, all right, or the Southeast for that matter. Like, the kids in my area, they got bigger problems, all right? So
Oh yeah.
I'm there to support them. I'm there to help them grow. I'm there as someone they can trust. And someone that can show them like, hey, you can make a difference. You're important. You're valuable. what you think and what you want to do is important. So let's work together to make that happen. I don't, I work with students, man. They don't, I'm not the guy in the front of the room bossing anybody around. We work together. We work side by side to accomplish goals and make things happen. And it's the best job in the entire world. Absolutely love it.
Yeah, and like I had a teacher. I had a teacher in Ico back in the day. She sadly passed away, but I remember what she said about teaching. Like it was during parent teacher interview, and she was like, I'm not here to like tag along you or to like what you have with your parents. I'm here to advocate for you and work with your parents to find out solutions how we can
Yeah.
develop you into a into a into a good successful person and unlock your potential.
Yeah, listen, I tell my students, there's two things I say. So the thing I tell students on the very first day, because listen, who I am right now in this interview, this is me 24/7. In fact, I might be turning it down just a little bit right now.
Yeah, yes,
But
yes, yes, yes.
so I always say, listen, I like to have fun. I like to laugh. You're going to learn a lot. We're going to have a great time in class. But one thing you need to know is I'm not your friend. Okay, I'm friendly with you. I care about you. I'm here for you. I'll do absolutely anything for you. But I am not your friend because you can't be. It's like parents who are friends. Like if you talk to a kid, they're like, yeah, my best friend's my mom. It's like your mom sucks because the kid should never think that their parents are their best friends. That's not how it works.
Devil,
And
no.
I always tell students that, listen, I'm not your friend, but I care about you. I'll do anything for you. I will work with you to make sure that you reach a level of success or where you want to go, and I will make sure that you become a good person in society. And then I also tell parents, I said, listen, we're a teaching team. I have your student from your daughter, your son or your daughter from 8 a.m. to 2:30 Monday to Friday. All right. And that's when I work with them. But we're a team. All right. We have the same goals in mind. And so when I'm not teaching them, you're teaching them. And we need to work together. We need to have that open communication and make sure that your student is having success inside and outside the classroom. All right. Listen, being in the classroom, you're going to learn all sorts of stuff out of, from the curriculum that's provided by the Alberta government and the program of studies. You're going to learn all that stuff. But some of the most important lessons you're going to learn are going to happen outside the classroom. I tell my students that, right? I tell them that. I
Yeah,
said, this stuff's important and this is going to get you to the next level and you're going to pick up on some interesting things. But, 10 years from now, if you can't tell me what happened or tell someone what happened in the fur trade, well, when Canada was coming together, listen, you're still going to have success in life. If you can't talk about uh, the settling of Upper and Lower Canada in the 13 colonies, listen, life's still going to be okay for you, right?
I don't even, I forgot all that. So,
It's okay, man. Life's still okay. You can look it up online if you forget, but it's these important social
yeah,
skills that you've developed. That's what you learn in school. The classroom stuff's important, yes, absolutely. But the stuff that you learn outside the classroom, equally, if not more important, because you build this foundation and you carry that with you through life, and that's important stuff.
yep, definitely. And like, even like, if I totally get what you mean, like, I see a couple of people right now that is really, really freaking like book smart, but their
Yep.
social skills are lacking. So when they have this job interview, it's kind of when they were like saying, having a conversation with the HR team, it's kind of awkward because some of them are not taught to be to like are taught at home to be more social, the social cues and everything.
Well, I mean, you probably see it more than I do. Like, I'm not really on social media, whereas you see these people on social media and the way they present their life, and they're very social. Like, yo, what's up, YouTube fam, or what's up, Instagram, Snapchat fam, whatever. And they're really outgoing, and and then you meet them in real life, and they're like super boring. Their
Oh
personalities
yeah.
online are awesome, and then the moment you meet them, they can't talk to you. They can't have a conversation with you in person. They can't even look you in the eye. And I guess some people will say, well, online allows them to be extroverted online, and I think that's great. But you have these people who play themselves up as these social people, these influencers and these innovators and people who are having an impact. And
Yeah.
then when you meet them online, they're completely sorry. When you meet them offline, they're completely different people, and it's like
Oh, definitely.
that's just weird to me, man. And
Yeah.
that's why I say, like, I can get on this video with you, and we can have this talk. And if anyone ever wanted to check me, and anyone that wanted to be like, yo, I wonder what he's really like in real life, like, I'm more live than this. I'm in real life,
Yeah.
man. It's a different vibe, but this is like, when I say that, is mean I'm this, but a little more escalated. Like, I'm toning it down for this, right?
Yeah.
And I have
You
no
and me
problem.
both.
Yo, anyone can hit me up, man. Anytime, any place. They want to meet up, and they want to they want to talk, and I'm cool with that. That's me. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not some shy person, you know. And you're right. So that's why that social stuff's important, and
Yeah.
not just like living online and spending all your time online and just talking to people online through direct message and all that kind of stuff. It's like, yo, you need to develop skills and social skills and communication skills, because for the next 20, 30 years, the person that signs your check, they didn't grow up with the internet, or they didn't grow up
Yeah.
spending this much time on the internet and social media. They don't care. All right. The person that's paying you for your job, yo, you need to be able to talk to someone in a job interview. You need to be able to talk to someone and connect with people. And people would say, well, I'm just going to be an influencer. I'm going to start my own thing. Yeah, that's great. But you know who owns all these companies? It's not some young millennial. I mean, some of them
Definitely not.
some of them might, right? But I don't know. It's just a weird thing, man.
Yeah,
It's just a weird thing.
and like back in the social influencer when I was working, they gave like I don't know the company wanted to invite a bunch of social media influencers for a marketing campaign, and I'm amazed that most of them cannot carry a conversation. And
Yeah.
whenever and like me, like the um I'm a funny guy. I don't bite. I
Yeah,
don't
you
bite.
are. You are. You are.
Yeah, but yeah, some of them are that really awkward conversations, and it like like seeing that like uh, maybe it's because of how they were raised, because like people are like parents are like, oh, I'm gonna buy you a lot of stuff to like to,
Yeah, maybe.
yeah,
But
but
here's the deal, man.
uh,
Listen, I'm gonna tell you right now. One of my favorite, and we'll just keep it local. One of my favorite online personalities and blogger type people, or social media type people, is Mike Morrison. Mike's Bloggity Blog, because that dude, you meet that cat in real life, and man, he talks mad shit. Like, that dude can hold his own. Like, who he is who he is. And you see him online, and he's standing up for what he believes in. He's standing up for the causes that he believes in, and the stuff that he believes to be true. And he'll put
yeah,
himself out there online, man. He doesn't hold back. But guess what? When you meet him in real life, that dude talks shit, and I know this, and pardon my language, because I talk mad shit too. And he's from the Maritimes as well. He's from Fredericton, New Brunswick as well. And that dude's the real deal. I love Mike Morrison, Mike's bloggity blog. He's an awesome guy. Really
Yeah,
appreciate that guy, and I appreciate what he does for Calgary and shedding light on issues and topics and movements that need a little more attention.
yeah, and like with like what like what's the mic over there? Wanna change him to because he helped me realize like that I shouldn't separate my two passions of photography and advocacy. I can put them together, and
Mm-hmm.
that's how I became like really involved with the community, but
Yeah.
also taking photos about social issues. And I just wanna say thank you, Mike, and I'm free for an interview. Just putting it
Yeah.
out there, Mike.
Yeah, put it out there, man. Put it out there.
Yeah.
Pick it up, Mike.
You have picked me up all I mean we can go we can go have a fun interview. I can have a few drinks in me before interviewing you.
Why do you need to have a few drinks? Why do you need to have a few drinks in you?
Ah, it's I make a joke about like we take away that city. but
Yo,
on
you
it
are.
but honestly I don't usually need to drink to have a good time
No, you don't need.
because
You don't need that, man. You
yeah
don't need that. Listen. You're a smart guy. You're
yeah
outgoing. You're courageous. Um, listen. You don't need that, man. You put
yeah
yourself out there, and if people don't like it, guess what? They don't have to listen to you. They don't have to look at your stuff, right? Who
definitely
cares?
like I got a drunk personality if you don't nobody know it I don't like it just like mm, with the talk about like with the talk about social media influencers and everything I'm just gonna build a G like with the social cues I noticed some of them when I'm taking photos of them. Some of them like to smoke weed. I'm like, what the hell? And then like,
I don't know, man.
and then I'm trying to be professional because I don't like to smell it while I'm working. I'm like, but they're like, yeah, and then let me relax and be in the moment. I'm like, why do you need a supplement to
I
connect
don't know,
with
man.
a person? Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird thing, man. It's absolutely weird. I don't know. I can't relate. I don't drink. I don't do drugs.
yeah,
It's not my scene. But I think the next thing we're going to talk about is
yeah.
coaching. Are we?
Oh no, but I'm gonna ask you a two. I just thought of what two light artist teaching question. I'm
Oh yeah,
gonna
sure,
I wanna reflect on your teaching and like
sure.
yeah, portray your connection more with the student. So like so you talk about like building a relationship with that
Mhm.
student and being like like making fun of them a little bit because that do that so that it means that it you so that you care for them, right?
Yeah, listen, I think so. You got to be able to joke around and make light of things. You also have to just be able to remember things about people. I think I'm just genuinely interested in people. Like if I talk to you, if we talk about something, I'm going to remember it because I'm interested in what you have to say. And so with my students, I talk to them. I know what they're into. I know what they're interested in. And listen, they I like to tease them as well. Listen, man, I like to bust their chops. And so when you find out so and so has a crush on so and so, yo, man, that's the best. That's the best. When you find out a kid in your class has a crush and then you just blow that up, that's the best. But it's all love. It's all from a place of love, and it's all from a place of support and caring and saying, listen, I care about you. I care about you enough that I can remember what's going on in your life. I can remember what you're into. I can remember what songs you like. I can remember what musicians you like. I can remember what movies you like. You got to pay attention. This is how you build a rapport. And that's how you keep students interested in coming to school and having success in school. They'll want to come to school if it's a place that's inviting and they know that you care about them.
Yeah, and funny that you mentioned that because I was gonna ask you because based on my experience, I wanna ask you so when you know like somebody in your class got a quad on so and
Yeah.
they like each other and you pick the group
Yeah, pick
do
the
you
groups and the seating.
do you match
Yeah.
them up?
Listen, yeah. Why wouldn't you? Listen, you were 12, weren't you? Like you were
Yeah,
13?
yeah,
Man, when
they
you have a
always do
crush,
that. Yeah,
yeah, listen, when you have a crush on someone, you just want to spend time with them. You want to be near them. You're not hanging out with them outside of school because you're 13. You're not allowed to, or your parents probably won't let you. So if I know someone has a crush and I'm doing up a new seating chart, yeah, I'll put them together. Why not? Like, listen, I was 13 once. I know what it felt like to have a crush on someone. You just want to be around them. So I'll do that. I'll set them up. I'll sit them beside each other. But listen, I'll also let them know that I know. I'll say, yo, I hooked you up. You wanted to sit beside her? I hooked you up, man. You see what I did for you? You got to
I'm
do that.
I'm freaking new with you, God. What? God, I
You know
was
me. You know me too well, man.
yeah, and I honestly think a lot of teachers do that too. A lot of teachers do that too. Like people, like I remember as a student, you and students in general don't think that teachers don't know what's going on in your classroom. They
Yo.
fucking do it. Excuse my language, but they do. Like
Yes,
teachers
of
know
course.
everything.
Of course we do. We pay attention, man. The good ones know. The good ones pay attention. We see what's
Yeah.
going on. I'm not sitting at my desk all day. I'm walking around the classroom. I'm in the hallways. When they're getting their stuff out of their lockers, I'm in the hallways. When they're coming in the morning, I'm in the hallways talking to them. I see them at lunch. I see them after school. I know what's up. I know who's dating who. I ain't stupid. I pay attention to this, man. I'm in tune. I know what's going on with my students. Listen,
Exactly.
it's when I said it's the best job ever, it's the best job ever. Like it's incredible, man. You just see the funniest, you hear the funniest things, you hear the funniest stories. I mean, you see some sad stuff, but that's any job, man.
Yeah. Yeah, and like we're like the teachers when you're talking about having a relationship. I was thinking about Mr. Feeney from Boy Meets
That
World.
Boy Meets World, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and
I don't remember much about that show, but I do remember who Feeney was.
yeah, and
Yeah.
like as a you talk a lot about like they are not their friend too. You can also scolded them for not living up to their potential. So, but as I like our question, what is the funniest that you students ever tell you about not doing their own work or not doing an assignment on time?
Well, you've heard the excuse, my dog ate my homework, right?
Yeah.
Well, I heard the excuse, my dog barfed on my homework. So my dog threw up on my homework, so I couldn't hand it in. But here's the deal, man. I don't give a lot of homework. I just think that's cruel. You're in school from 8 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. You're doing your work, man. You're doing your work then. You're
Yeah.
working hard. You're working on your assignments. You're working on activities. I always give time in class to work on activities. The only time students have homework is if they don't complete it in class. Why would I do that? You're at school all day. You want to
Yeah.
live your life. You got other things to do. Where I teach, single parent households, the kids have to babysit their little brothers and little sisters. They got other things to worry about, man. I don't send homework home with them. They'll have activities to work on, but they have plenty of class time to work on it. And if they don't get it done in class, then it's homework. But I just don't see any point in that. They
Yeah.
work hard. They work hard during the day. Um, Home time is for them to relax and to chill out and to message their friends and play sports and do stuff like that.
Definitely. And like, I get, like, I understand your point. Like, giving homework is like, in the real world, when we get the job, do we ever, except for maybe you, but do most people ever bring their work home with them?
Well, sometimes it depends. I mean, if you're a
Yeah.
lawyer, you work long hours. If you're a doctor, you work long hours. But bringing the work home, I mean, I think it. You got to find that work-life balance, and I
Yeah.
think that's important for young people and students to understand that as well, and to understand that their teachers understand that they have a life outside of school, right?
Yeah.
A lot of the students that I teach, that I work with at my school, they love playing sports, and that's a big part of their life outside of school is playing sports, whether that's soccer or basketball or whatever it might be.
Yeah. I hear Gina working.
Yeah, he's going.
Second file VJ complete. But yeah, Kelsy is, I love talking to the guy. He's a really good storyteller and funny dude all around.
What's that?
I was telling the audience, yeah, Kelsey is a good storyteller and a funny dude all
I'm a
around.
bit. I'm a bit of a scatterbrain, man. I'm kind of all over the place. At times, it takes me a little bit of time to settle in
Yeah,
to a conversation. But I was talking about my kids playing sports, and so one thing that's great about being a teacher and you teach at a school is that you get an opportunity to be involved in youth sports if you're so inclined, if you have that desire to do that. And for me, that's a huge benefit of this job is coaching sports.
yeah, and like speaking on that, like you're not only a teacher, but you're a basketball coach. So what is your coaching style like? Are you like Phil Jackson? Back.
Yeah, yeah, exactly like Phil Jackson. And the players that I coach are of the caliber that Phil Jackson coached. Um, well, it's funny you mentioned Phil Jackson. For me, basketball has been a big part of my life since I was in grade 6. I remember that's the first time I had figured or found out or saw Michael Jordan. So I have I brought some Michael Jordan. Here's Michael Jordan from, here's Space Jam Michael Jordan. You see that?
Well, yeah.
Space Jam Michael Jordan. Here's a poster I have from 1991, Chicago Bulls, 1991.
The
There's
first,
Michael in the middle.
championship.
Yeah,
Dang.
Michael in the middle. That's a cool poster from 91. Here's a Sports Illustrated. So I'm really in. I think sneakers and basketball go hand in hand. I know you like sneakers, Lionel. I know a lot of your friends do. This was like a really controversial issue of Sports Illustrated. Your sneakers or your life. This was all about, and you got a pair of Jordans there. Pair of Jordans on the front there. And I remember reading this, like, yo, people getting jacked for their starter jackets. And just a few more. There's some Michael Jordan starting lineup figures from the 90s.
That is before the long shorts.
Yeah, and then here's another one of Michael. Look at that big dunk.
Dang.
From the free throw line, Michael Jordan. So Michael Jordan started it off for me, a love of basketball, and I played. I never really played on a team. I wasn't that good at basketball. I know I'm 6'4", but I was never really good. But once I got into teaching, I knew that I wanted to coach. And the thing with coaching basketball, especially so I coach or I teach at a junior high. And so when it comes to junior high, what people want to coach is they want to coach the senior boys basketball team. That is the number one kind of coaching position at the school. After that would be the junior boys basketball team. After that would be the senior girls basketball team. And the lowest on the rung is junior girls basketball team. When I started coaching, or when I started teaching, I said, listen, I want to coach junior girls basketball. I want to coach the lowest rung. And here's why. I think that a lot of girls who play on the junior girls basketball team often feel that people will coach because that's the only option. And they often don't get a good coach at that level. They don't get someone who knows much about basketball. They'll just get the teacher that goes, well, I have to fulfill this commitment to the school. It looks good if I coach basketball or I coach a sport, so I'll coach junior girls basketball. And they'll often get someone who doesn't know a lot about basketball or someone who doesn't know a lot about coaching sports. And so that's why I wanted to do it. And I wanted them to have a teacher, coach that they liked. And they knew that was like, oh, Mr. Norman, he's a cool, you know what they call me, right? They call me the hype beast teacher.
The hype beast? What kind of...
That's what they call me the hype beast teacher. I don't know. I guess they like the sneakers that I wear. But
what kind of shoes do you wear in school?
I don't know, man. I wear Jordans. I wear Yeezys. I don't know. Jordans and Yeezys and stuff. But listen, so when you have when you're the teacher that kids really like being around and that they respect and they appreciate it, and you go, hey, listen, I'm going to coach your team as well. They really like that. And another thing about coaching junior girls basketball is, or girls basketball in general, I think you have an opportunity there to be a positive role model. And, you allow young girls the opportunity to know that, hey, listen, you're just as important as the boys' teams. That's one thing I absolutely hate. When we have a junior girls practice and there's boys out there trying to shoot, it's like, yo, get out of here. This is our time. Like, you're not entitled to the court. You're not entitled to this space right now. This is equal space. It's equal opportunity space here. And right now it's time for the girls to shine. When I run a practice, we got the music playing. I curate playlists, and it's female artists on the playlist. Like, I think girls need to understand that they can be in an environment where they're in charge, and it's their environment. And boys aren't going to come in there and go, yo, basketball is for us, and that our boys team is more important than your girls team. I hate that sort of thing. And so, I have a big voice and a big mouth when it comes to that sort of thing. And I have no problem saying, like, yo, get out of here. It's our turn. It's the girls' turn. And we're going to practice, and we're going to be in this space for the next hour and a half. And, yo, we don't want you here. This is our space. Don't think it's yours. Don't think you're entitled to this space. It's time for us to play and practice. And I think that's important, having someone to advocate for these girls and say, these girls can ball, man. I had some really good basketball players on my team. Now, these girls aren't playing club basketball. This is junior high basketball. This is like one of their only opportunities to play, but they really appreciate it, and they try hard and they play hard. And you say, well, what's your coaching style? When you're coaching junior girls basketball, here I'm going to tell you how to win a game. Junior girls basketball. Make your
Okay.
layups. Make your layups. Play defense. Make your layups. That's all. That right there, you're going to win every single game. The skill
Yeah.
level, unless you're playing against a team that has a bunch of club players, the skill level, the caliber, it's not high. I mean, I have girls who have the potential to be good basketball players, but the reality of it is, the situation of it is, club basketball costs a lot of money, and people can't afford. Some people
Yeah.
can't afford that, and so when they play school basketball, play defense, make your layups, let's have fun, believe in yourself, trust
Yeah.
yourself, go out there and take what I've taught you in practice and apply that to a game. But most of all, have fun and enjoy your time with your teammates. Enjoy the time with your friends. That's basically my approach to it, man. And don't let the boys talk shit to you,
Yeah, I
right?
totally agree with you when we see like a lot of sport news about WNBA players are like rallying for equal pay and equal opportunities with the NBA players because like sports between males and females are not fair in our society, and why is male athletes getting getting so popular and getting recognized for all the stuff that they're doing, while your female athletes are not are doing really good. Like for example, Serena Williams, what a beast, but he's still like she's not being recognized as much as Tiger Woods, right? Or like Roger Federer. It's so unfair.
But here's the thing that you need to realize, and people might not like what I'm going to say. I don't think the WNBA players should get paid as much as the NBA players. It's a business,
Yeah,
right? And those
yeah,
big name
true.
the big name players in the NBA bring in a lot of revenue. They bring in a lot of TV revenue, ad revenue, and the girls in the WNBA, they just don't bring in that revenue. They don't bring that money into the league. So should WNBA players, should some of them be getting paid 20, 30 million a year? Absolutely not, unless they're
Mm,
bringing in that revenue into the league. Listen, they're incredible basketball players, and I think they should be paid fairly, and I think a lot of them are. But
yeah,
I do think that some of them should get paid more. I think there should be a better balance there. But in terms of saying like, yo, WNBA players should get paid just as much as NBA players, I don't agree with that, because
yeah.
it's a business.
Oh
It's
yeah,
like when people say, "Yo, this professional athlete got paid $30 million a year. We should be paying doctors that much." Well, maybe, but fans fund the NBA.
yeah.
Fans pay for the salaries and the wages for NBA players. The provincial government pays the wages
Uh,
of a doctor. So it's
yeah,
it's not like
yeah,
the provincial government or the federal government or the government in general is paying the wages for players. Fans are paying for it. And we're saying this player is worth this much because we're tuning into the television. We're tuning into the streaming of these games. And that is the indication,
yeah,
or we're buying their products, we're buying their sneakers, we're buying their jerseys, we're buying whatever it is they're selling. All right. And so
yeah,
that's why the WNBA players, I'm not saying they're not good. I'm a
yeah,
strong advocate for girls basketball, for women's basketball.
yeah,
I truly am. But I'm not
yeah.
stupid. I understand business.
Yeah, and like it's just like the people out there are well, people in general are more focused on the men's or male athletes and watching their games. And like, if the WNBA do have money, they would be paying their athletes 30 million freaking
Yeah,
dollars. But it's a business. I understand that.
yeah. But listen, that's not to say that. Listen, there's some incredible female athletes out there who aren't even just incredible. They're not just incredible female athletes. They're incredible athletes.
Yeah,
All right. And I think that's important. And I think we have to pay more attention to them and appreciate what they do,
yeah,
especially
like,
here.
yeah, like with the tennis player in Canada.
Andrescu,
Yeah, she's
she's awesome.
she's awesome and she's like with Serena Will. I think Serena Williams paid a paid away for female and board because with Serena Williams she could really be like she's making money. She's
Yeah.
really she's one of the best. Like in my view, I consider her to be one of the top 10 athletes
Yeah.
in the world of all
She's
time.
Yeah, Serena's incredible, and we'll end the sport. We gotta wrap up the conversation here,
Yeah,
Lionel. But I'll leave you on this, man. Listen, I look at a sport like hockey that I think is evolving, and where players are getting smaller and the game's faster, and they're gonna, I think eventually you're gonna eliminate a lot of that rough stuff out of hockey. I could see a female make it into the NHL, in the next 15, 20 years, you'll probably see a female in the NHL because of how the game is going, the style of the game, the direction the game is going. And if you can eliminate some of that, the fighting and the rough stuff, I just think the skill set now that allows players to have success in the NHL, I could see a female playing in the NHL.
yeah, definitely. And I got one more, one big question for you and one little question for you.
Sure.
So for during this situation, COVID-19, if people are living under the rock. So how hard is it transitioning from a classroom to online teaching during this pandemic, and how hard is it for the kids to adapt to this new normal?
Yeah, so I think the transitioning to online learning to remote learning is difficult for some people. Again, school is a big social thing, right? There's a social component to school and being around other kids. That makes a lot of their lives a lot easier. It makes a life a lot better, especially if home life sucks. If there's nothing really going at home, or they can't get along with their parents. Going to school, that's an escape from that. And I know what that's like. When I was in junior high, like I touched on before, life really sucked. I didn't like where I lived. I was embarrassed where I lived. I didn't like my stepdad. He was a bad person, abusive person. And so I know that it sucks for a lot of these kids to have to be home. But also there's those barriers to learning online, right? So you got to understand, especially where I teach, that not every kid has access to technology, access to computer, and access to internet. And that makes learning a lot harder. So what we've done is we've transitioned to having online classes and online learning, offering that through Google Classroom, as well as through the D2L platform, so students can engage in a virtual classroom, as well as providing students with technology that they can take home, lending out school computers to students, and as well as providing students with paper copies of the lessons that they're going to be learning. So we're trying our best, man. Whenever there's change like this, it's a great opportunity to learn new skills. So if we're looking for the silver lining here, for teachers to learn that online learning, to learn these new tools, these online tools, ways to engage with students, to interact with students, and to teach students. That's the silver lining here. That opportunity to learn new skills, that's an important thing for us. And for a lot of the students, it's the same thing, right? So for them to learn that online learning component and how to maybe to kind of figure out things for themselves, trying to navigate those online platforms, that's going to teach them some new skills too. But we'd much rather be in the classroom teaching students in person. We understand that that's impossible right now, but it's a learning
Yeah.
opportunity. It is challenging for some people. It's challenging for teachers, man. Listen, I love my job. I love working with my students, and I miss them like crazy. And I can't wait till things are back to normal and we get to teach students in the classroom again.
Oh yeah, I totally agree with you. And ending this all interesting interview is always a good time to ask you. I know this you got on this topic a lot about how the pandemic impact people livelihood and mental health. So what would your message be to those people are dealing with mental health issues right now and dealing with that isolation and that uncertainty?
Yeah, isolation can be hard for people. Removing yourself from society, spending a lot of time alone or a lot of time with the same people, that can be challenging for people, especially people who are experiencing anxiety and depression and other types of mental health issues. I just think it's surround yourself virtually with people that you care about, people that you love, people that you can reach out to and have conversations with. Try to build up some healthy habits during your day, whether that's going out for a walk or being physically active inside the house, getting that exercise, and getting a variety of activities, right? So if that's physical activity, that's awesome. Maybe you want to start reading some books, watching something on TV. Don't watch too much. Don't binge watch. I don't ever think that's very healthy for you.
Oh
But
yeah,
I just finding like a really strong support group, people you can connect with, and just understand that everyone is going through this, and that things will get better, things will return back to normal. It sucks, and that if anyone is experiencing uh, negative negative things or mental health issues, that you can always reach out to professionals. You can always reach out to people who are experts when it comes to this sort of thing, and ask them, what can I do, or how can I help myself, or how can I get through this troubling time here with COVID-19. But on the flip side of this, I think we could take this time to really improve and better our lives. I know that's easier said than done for a lot of people, but I think the people who are able to do so, take this opportunity, learn a new skill. Here's the thing, okay? I'm going to tell you this right now. We all know these people who say, yo, listen, I'm going to start a website, or I'm going to start a blog, or I'm going to write a book, or I'm going to learn how to do this. And they never do it. Here's the deal. After COVID-19, if they haven't learned that skill, or they continue to say, hey, I'm going to learn how to do this, or I'm going to start doing this, just say to them, stop talking about that, because you were just isolated for 3 months and you didn't learn that skill, or you didn't do that thing you said you were going to do. Don't talk about it ever again, because you're never going to do it. Because if
yeah,
you didn't do it, then when else are you going to do it? Get online, learn whatever it is you're going to do whatever it is. If you're going to start blogging, or you're going to start learning how to do video work, if you're going to start doing graphic design, get online, do those tutorials. There's awesome resources through the Calgary Library, free tutorials. There's
mm,
incredible resources online, so many different websites where you can learn all these new skills. But I think just take this opportunity to learn these skills, to learn these things that you've always wanted to learn. Do these things that you always wanted to do. Read these books that you've always wanted to read. Watch all these movies that you've wanted to watch. Take this opportunity, because you're not going to have this opportunity. Hopefully you won't have this opportunity ever again in your lifetime to do this. Like the world is on pause right now. And this is a great chance to retool, develop skills, important skills, the things that you've always wanted to do and things that you've always wanted to learn. Do them now.
Yeah,
Do
yeah,
them
I
now.
totally agree with you. When like people often people often don't know that like the world is changing. The world, like once we get to the new normal, the world
Yeah.
is gonna the world is you're always gonna be doing something because you
Yes.
we've been in isolation for months, so been we're always gonna be going out, gonna see our friends. So we need to
Yeah.
realize that enough talk. You need to walk the dog. You can talk a big game, but dude, if you're
Listen,
not doing
t-
it,
take this time to better yourself.
no.
Take this time to learn new skills. Take this time to improve, to fix yourself, to whatever it is that you need to do. Now's the best time to do it because you can't go out. You can't go to the club. You can't go to the mall. You're not going out to a restaurant. Like, you're home. Do that. All right. And then if you're someone who's feeling anxious and depressed and experiencing those types of things, mental health issues, don't be afraid to reach out to someone. Don't be afraid to reach out to a professional and get the help that you need.
Yeah, definitely. And I wanna say wrapping this up. Thank Kelsey so much for your afternoon to talking to me. It's always a good conversation. It's always a good time when we're around together, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great, man. Listen, I just want to say thank you. And if anyone made it this far into the conversation, because I think this thing's like 2 hours long, if you made it into this far in the conversation, thanks a lot. I don't really do social media. I do have a YouTube channel. You can just search Kelsy Norman, KELSYNORMAN. You can find me on there. I put out content every once in a while whenever I feel like doing it. I'm not a YouTuber. I'm a storyteller. I'm just curious about the world around me. No pressure on me to put out content. I don't do Instagram. I don't do Twitter. I don't have Facebook. I really don't care about any of that stuff. But if you want to check out, if you want to check out my video work, check it out on YouTube. If you want to reach out to me, I'm sure there's a way to do that through YouTube. I think there's an email address or something on there.
Oh
And if you
yeah,
never want to hear
there
from, and if you don't want to hear from me ever again, you don't have to.
is. Yo, thank you so much, Kelsey, and I will wrap this up right now. Goodbye, everyone, and be safe, stay home, think about the 3 F words: friends, family, and the future. And think about Michael Jordan. I recommend The Last Dance.